Job finding is just 50% of the stress, whereas the other 50% of the stress is how this whole job searching is structured, the CPD thing or the ticking clock.
Unless somebody started working when they were 12, I don't see how that's possible. So I definitely relate to this.
Mahindra, you've been both a student at Pace University and now you're working for Pace University supporting students here.
There's always that question, why do you want this job? Okay, yeah, I'm trying not to be poor. I'd like to be able to afford food. That's why I want a job, and I think that's why anybody wants a job.
Job market is good this year. It's not doing great this year. It's getting worse and things like that. What is your thought on today's job market?
Hello everyone. This is Rohan Niranjan Kalpavruksha. This is Roshan Niranjan Kalpavruksha. We welcome you all to our very new venture, the Twin Podcast. This is our very first series, which is going to have 5 great episodes featuring incredible guests from various walks of life. We'll dive deep into the intersection of tech, business, career growth, and life balance. Our guests will engage in insightful conversations and share their valuable takeaways. We also have some fun-filled, exciting sessions planned up, including rapid-fire questions and reactions to trending tech news. We're excited to kick off this journey with all your love and support.
So let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Twin Podcast. Today with us we have a truly inspiring guest who's shaping the future for emerging professionals.
The Associate Director of Career Services at Pace University.
A powerhouse in learning and development, he's on a mission to empower individuals in their careers.
With over 10 years of experience, he's not only a career service champion, but also a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And when he's not coaching professionals or crafting interactive content, you can find him cooking up a storm or diving into a good book.
And it's none other than Mr. Mahindra Guman.
Today, we'll dive deep into his insights on career growth, job market, and how we all can navigate this professional journey with lots of confidence.
So get ready for a conversation full of wisdom, humor, and practical advice.
So first and foremost, thank you so much, Mahindra, for agreeing to do this podcast with the two of us. We're truly thrilled to have you on board. So how are you? How's your day started?
Well, I'm doing quite well. So before we dive into that, just a huge thank you to both of you for inviting me onto this. I'm really excited to share my insights in the job market and strategies students can use to support their career search. And I'm just so proud of the two of you for putting this together. It's, quite an achievement. So I really do commend you both on this, but I'm doing quite well. How about the two of you?
Same here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you.
Okay, so to get started with our first question, I'm sure you would have heard this phrase that job market is good this year, it's not doing great this year, it's getting worse and things like that. So firstly, I want to know what is your thought on today's job market? Also, as a follow-up question, given today's job market, what are the top 3 strategies that a job seeker should follow in order to secure your job in today's landscape?
Great. So I'll take that first part regarding the job market first. So one of the great things about the career services team that I work on is that we're very data driven. So we're constantly collecting information on job postings and job placements, not just from our students here at Pace University, but just across the greater New York City region and then across the United States in general. And what we've been seeing over the past few years is that the job market isn't as strong as it has been. With every year's graduating class, we're seeing that it's tougher and tougher for students who are graduating to land a full-time job within their field. And, that's no different this year. With that, though, I don't want it to be all gloom and doom. There are great strategies students can use, and we do see that there are certain industries and certain businesses that are hiring quite rapidly and that are growing quite rapidly. So there are opportunities out there. It's not that simple as it was before, however, where someone could have a great resume and apply to a position and be considered for an interview. I have to recall that in the past few years, there's just been such a surge of layoffs, particularly in the tech industry. So the market is just saturated right now with tech professionals who have experience at some of these larger tech firms that are competing for the same roles that recent college graduates are competing for. So you have a saturated job market and you have such talented individuals competing for these positions. So it's a very competitive landscape. As I said, though, it's not all gloom and doom. We've been seeing in certain industries, particularly in the startup industry, that hiring is rapidly taking place. So there are strategies that students can use and should be using to support their job search. So you asked for 3 specific ones, and I'll give those to you. One is always focus on quality over quantity. When you think about your job application, gone are the days where you could simply have a great resume and apply to a dozen different jobs and hear back, within a week from 3 to 4 of them. Now you have to be very targeted in your application. So for every position to which someone's applying, they should ensure that their resume is targeted directly to that role. And you do that by identifying the keywords and the key skills that are listed in the job description and ensuring that they're actually listed in your resume itself. The second thing is focus on building network connections within your target employers. So looking at the industry that you want to join, look at the companies that you want to apply to, identify recruiters and identify folks that are working in the positions that you hope to one day be working in. Send them cold messages on LinkedIn, or if you're able to find a second-degree connection with someone, request your first-degree connection to do some type of warm introduction for you. Try to leverage your network as much as possible so that way you can get up front and center with the recruiter, with the hiring team. Again, if you're applying to a position, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of other candidates vying for that same position. You want to do whatever's in your power so that way you could stand out to the recruiter and give yourself a shot of being considered. Remember, targeting that resume, that first step, that'll help you clear that applicant tracking system. But it's networking that will help you get selected for an interview. And then the third strategy is really just advice. Be consistent and be persistent. Rejection is part of the game. Everyone will be rejected from a position, even if they have the best application materials and even if they gave the greatest interview. But what every job seeker needs to do is stay focused on their end goal, continuously put out those applications, be consistent in the way they're putting out their applications, and be persistent. Follow up on applications, follow up on interviews. Be consistent in their approach to their job search, and it will yield the desired results.
Great. I appreciate your perspective, and I'm sure I'll keep these strategies for my own job search as well.
Oh, great.
So, Mahindra, we all keep striving on a daily basis to stand out amongst the crowd and to have a healthy competition amongst our peers. Your LinkedIn headline says that you're a career service champion, and I'm sure you're one. My next question is, what strategies do you personally take to distinguish yourself amongst your peers? And how do you make sure that you stay relevant in the changing industry trends?
So, every career coach has their own strategy to connect with their, job seekers, whether it's their students or their clients. And for me, my strategy really is getting to know people on a personal level. I really strive to understand the why behind, why people chose their particular degree or why they're pursuing a particular career path. And in doing so, I really get to build strong relationships with my students. I understand their struggles. I understand their concerns. I understand sometimes their familial pressures and societal pressures that really are weighing down on them. And in me getting to understand that, I'm able to better support my students and I'm able to better give them, curated recommendations and guidance. In terms of staying current on the, job search trends and what's going on out there, I stay active on LinkedIn. I follow different professionals on LinkedIn to understand hiring trends. I shared before that our office is very data driven. So I'm always looking at statistics to understand, what industries or what specific businesses should we be targeting for our students. But I always stay on the grind. So I'm constantly looking for internships and jobs in different areas, right? In city and state government, in startups and small businesses. I'm always looking for opportunities and I'm always networking. So a day doesn't pass by where I'm not sending a cold message to someone trying to understand a little bit more about their business or, their hiring needs, or where I'm not building a relationship with someone, even if they're not currently hiring. At least building that relationship means that in the future, if they are, or if there's someone that they're connected to, they can always reach out to support, or I could leverage their connection to support one of my job seekers. When it comes to my students, I've often been referred to as a life coach, not just a career coach, because I get to know my students on a personal level, and I really strive to care. So for all of my students, I'm always checking in to see if they've had their breakfast or if they had lunch, or how are they feeling for their upcoming exams? How are their family doing? Do they have any plans for the vacation? Whenever I see that it's a student's birthday, I make sure I send a message out to them. So I always strive to build a personal relationship with my students, and I think it's one of the driving reasons why so many students flock to me.
That's amazing. So, as you just mentioned that you're this coach or a personal mentor who's helping people transition in their career or seeking a job. So, I want to know who was your Mahindra Guman during your job seeking journey? His or her wisdom that holds true even till today that you would love to share.
Honestly, I would have to say the one and only Dr. Jane Schmidt, who some of you may be familiar with. Jane was the director of Inspire and Queer Communities here at Pace University. She's a distinguished faculty member with CUNY, and she's now working within the CUNY system as a career coach. And, it's funny, I didn't really connect with her until later on in my career. Earlier in my career, I really didn't have any guidance. I didn't have someone that I could turn to for advice. I was searching for jobs and graduating from college at a time when, the job search was rapidly changing. The way that people went about seeking roles and connecting was rapidly changing. So, the older folks in my life at that time really didn't understand. The advice I used to get was, just show up to the businesses and ask them if they're hiring, or call a company and ask them if they're hiring, which that does not work. But it wasn't until much later in my career I connected with Jane over a program that I was building at my former employer, an internship program. And, she was just filled with all this great advice and gave me some feedback on my resume, on how I could go about applying for roles. And she's the reason why I'm in the position that I'm in today and why I've been able to have such a huge impact on so many job seekers' lives. So I really credit her with, transforming my career and transforming my life.
That's nice. Mahindra, you've been both a student at Pace University and now you're working for Pace University supporting students here. So my question is, what did you enjoy the most about both these roles individually?
So you know what? I was a student at Pace, and I currently am still a student at Pace because I'm doing an MBA right now.
That's fantastic.
But when I did my undergraduate degree, one of the things that I enjoyed about Pace is just its location. The city really is the classroom for Pace students. We're located just a few blocks away from Wall Street. We're in the heart of the financial district. We have City Hall and the Civic Center right across the street from us. And there's so much history and architecture and so many things to digest. From my freshman year, my first semester, one of the courses that I took was supplemented by trips to different museums and different locations within the city. And I think that that's one of the greatest things about Pace. Its location and just the opportunities that come with being in New York City. And as an employee of Pace working with the career services team, I would say, again, that is one of my favorite things about this role. The fact that we are located in New York City means that there are so many different businesses and companies and employers to partner with and to, try to get our students placed with. We have city government agencies. In fact, just this summer, local city government in New York has over 190 internship positions for college students. We have New York City is considered the second largest area for tech startup concentration. So we have so many startups, right on our doorstep. So there are so many great opportunities within our own neighborhood for our students. So really, it's the location of Pace that really helps it stand out.
I truly agree that location is like the key mark for Pace.
Definitely.
So, next question, I want you to rank this in order of preference. So, I'll give you 5 terms: cooking, gardening, reading, exploring the city, making new friends. I'll repeat that for you: cooking, gardening, reading, exploring the city, making new friends.
So always gardening, that's number one. I'm sure you can tell I enjoy
Yeah.
plants.
Yeah.
So gardening definitely because I love plants. I have a green thumb. I garden throughout the year. I have my indoor garden, plus I have an outdoor garden. And plants don't give me a headache. They don't complain. And they exist and they, provide so much for us. They purify the air that we breathe. They brighten up any space. They add humidity to the air. And caring for something and seeing it grow and blossom is just such a rewarding feeling. So definitely gardening first. Second, I would say cooking, because I love food and I feel that cooking really connects me to my culture and to my ancestors. I cook with a lot of traditional utensils. I'm sure you're familiar with the sil bata, like
Yeah.
the grindstone. Well, in Guyana, we call it sil and lorha. And I have my grandmother, so every time I use it, I remember her. So I enjoy cooking, and not just because it connects me with my culture, but also I love cooking for others. So I love sharing meals with others. Third, I would say reading a book. I enjoy reading and just traveling without having to leave my seat, and understanding different ideas and exploring different ideas and really trying to find a character to relate to. And it's so easy to get lost in a good book, so I enjoy that. And then exploring the city, that would be the fourth, because it's always nice to just admire the architecture or find, a nice cafe or explore a different restaurant or just to sightsee or sometimes just to cool off your mind, sit by the water and just, watch the waves roll by. And it's, such a dichotomy, right? The peacefulness of the water and then, the hustle and bustle of the city. And then finally, I would say, making new friends. It's fun to connect with new people and learn a little bit about them and share more about yourself and, share jokes and laughs. That's always fun.
That's nice to know your perspective. So you emphasize on mental health and career growth. So for an international student specifically, we have the sticking clock of 90 days cycle. So job finding is just 50% of the stress, whereas the other 50% of the stress is how this whole job searching is structured, the CPD thing or the ticking clock where you have to find the job within those days. So what do you think an international student specifically, how should he handle this mental stress related to career growth?
So it's all about preparation and time management. You're correct. Once a student graduates and is on OPT, they have 90 days to land a job, but you don't have just 90 days. You have the entire totality of when you first stepped foot into the US until you graduate to start searching for jobs. Remember, we're not waiting until our OPT clock starts to start seeking positions and applying and networking. These are things that students should be considering from the first day of their first semester. So I'm going to use the perspective of a graduate student. That's a 2-year program. From that first day, even though that student doesn't become CPT eligible until after completing 2 consecutive semesters, that from that first day, that student should be prioritizing time to search for jobs, apply, network. Remember, many companies have different recruiting timelines. Some companies recruit even a year in advance. So for a student who's starting traditionally in September, they shouldn't be waiting until the spring to start applying for summer internships. They should start applying that same September. They should be actively attending employer events to build networks, to have an understanding of what the hiring timelines are for these companies that they're meeting with, to understand when do they typically hire for full-time opportunities for new grads. They should be building their network. They should be building their skills, attending events such as hackathons, participating in experiential learning labs, which I'll speak a little bit more about later on, participating in challenges, seeking professors to support with research, doing things to build their skills. All of these things feed into that 90-day period once the OPT clock starts. Those are all the things that can help a student once the time comes for them to start searching for a job. And again, we're not going to wait until the day we graduate to start seeking full-time jobs. Those are going to be things we focus on after we've completed our first year of college, right? After we've gone through a summer internship. Once we're in our second year, let's start shifting focus just to a full-time opportunity. This is the time when we're putting out those applications. This is the time when we're connecting with companies to understand more about the recruiting timeline. This is where we're leveraging career services. From day one, students should be engaged with career services. Use our resources. Remember, it's part of the tuition that you pay for. In terms of balancing mental health, it's really about balancing the time. From day one, if a student can commit to, every week dedicating a certain amount of hours or every day dedicating a certain amount of time to apply, to upskill, to attend an event, to connect with somebody, to cold message folks, These are all strategies that students can put into place that will make the job search much more manageable. I work with students at all levels, right? So I work with students from their first semester. I work with students who are in their final semester. I work with students who graduated, last semester or a year ago. And you can see the difference in students who have been actively working with career services from the beginning to how well prepared and how calm they are and how confident they are with their job search compared to those students who wait until their final semester, their final year, or they wait until after they graduate to reach back out to career services to say, hey, we need support. So in terms of mental health, remember, it's all in what one is capable of controlling. We can't control whether a company says no to us. We can't control whether someone that we try to send a connection request to LinkedIn or through LinkedIn, accepts or rejects it. But we can control how well prepared we are. We can control how many applications we're putting out. We can control the quality of the applications that we're putting out. We can control how much time we dedicate to this. So that's really what international students should be prioritizing. It's the time management when it comes to their job search.
Very fantastic. Thanks for the valuable insights. So now we'll move on to our next round, which is called the rapid fire round, which is more fun part of the session, where I want you to answer in a single word or a single phrase, preferably.
Okay.
My first question is, if your career journey were a movie, what would the title be?
I would jokingly say Titanic because I'm going down with this ship, but no. I would say there is a song by Madonna called Get Together, and there's a specific lyric that she sings. She says, if it's bitter at the start, then it's sweeter in the end. And I think that's the perfect title for a movie about my entire career journey because it started off quite rough. Again, I didn't have someone to guide me. I didn't have a career coach to point me in the right direction. And I didn't take advantage of the resources that my undergraduate school PACE offered at the time. But through, developing my skills and, working on both sides of the interview table and connecting with, fantastic mentors such as Jane, I've been able to really shape what it is that I'd like to do with my career. I've been able to find my voice and advocate on my behalf. I've been able to say no to things. I've been able to negotiate. And as a result, I'm in a position that I truly enjoy. I enjoy supporting my students. I enjoy the work that I do.
Next question. If job searching were a game, what would be the cheat code that you wish every candidate knew?
Okay. I'll go back to it. Be consistent and persistent. So be consistent in the quality of your application materials. Be persistent in the face of rejection or even in the face of silence, right? Just be persistent with the way that they're going about searching and applying.
If you could add or remove one question from the normal job applications, what would it be?
Oh, this would have to be, there's always that question, why do you want this job? Okay, yeah, I'm trying not to be poor. I'd like to be able to afford food. That's why I want a job, and I think that's why anybody wants a job. We usually advise folks if someone were to ask, why do you want this job? Not to say, oh, the salary and the benefits, but yeah, it's the salary, right? People are looking for income. They're looking to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle. They're looking to be able to afford food and basic necessities. And in the United States, where healthcare is really tied to employment, people are looking for those benefits. They're looking to be able to go to the doctor without going bankrupt. So I would say, just that question.
So the next round, we'll have you walk through a few of the training tech memes, and we want to know what are your thoughts and reviews over that. I hope this screen is visible.
It is, yeah. So yeah, I understand this. I see it a lot with posts that I share with students. So one of the things that I'm responsible for is finding opportunities for my students and sharing them. And sometimes it's, a bit absurd. It's, an entry-level position. It'll say it has to be for a current college student. And it'll say, 1 to 2 years or 2 to 3 years of experience. And then, my rebuttal to students is, don't worry, as long as you have projects and experiential learning opportunities and hackathons. Those are all things that can count as experience. But I've been seeing this for internships as well, saying that, you require a certain number of years of experience, and it'll actually specify, non-academic experience, non-project experience. It must be actual internship or work. So unless somebody started working when they were 12, I don't see how that's possible. So I definitely relate to this.
Okay, so the next meme. Yeah, meme. This is
Oh
also
yeah, I
relatable.
know this. This is quite relatable. And one of the things though that I will say regarding this, I mentioned earlier that many companies have earlier recruiting timelines. So, for example, for summer internships, sometimes companies start their application process the fall before. So, from September, October of last year, a position may have been posted for this summer. And students are now reaching out saying, well, I applied, and when I check on the job portal, it still says the status is pending. And I'm telling them that's actually fine, because as long as it's not rejected, it means that you're still in the running. And what I see year after year is those companies that post their summer internships in the fall, they don't get around to start reviewing the applications and interviewing until the middle or later spring. So sometimes candidates would have applied, 5, 6, 7 months ago before they hear something back. So I understand it can be quite daunting, but hang in there.
Okay, so the next one. So 10 years back, we getting a one mail was such a big thing. We were so happy to receive our first mail. Right now we have 436 unread mails and we're not happy about it, but just getting one letter is making such a big difference.
So for my position, I'm constantly inundated with emails, but what I'm so proud of is my inbox, I'm always on top of it. So I never have, unread mails until when I start working again the next day, whatever emails came in overnight. And but it's astounding the sheer volume of emails that I receive, because I'm always receiving emails from students, from colleagues, from employer partners. I can literally get up from my desk, grab a cup of water, and come back. And in the 2 seconds that takes me, I would have gotten, 10 new emails. And it's like, when did this become the norm?
So, Mahindra, we've almost reached the end of the podcast. Now we want to nominate two people from your end, probably somebody who's around you, who inspires you, and who you think would be the right choice for us to bring on board for our future episodes.
Yeah, definitely. So, again, I wouldn't be where I am in my career without Jane Schmidt, the incredible Jane. So she would be a phenomenal guest on your podcast. She has a wealth of experience in both the career services and career coaching aspect of things, as well as the education and teaching aspect of things. So she would really have a great perspective. And for another guest, I would strongly encourage reaching out to former students of PACE who have graduated or working in their field, who can share a bit about their own journey. Just one name pops into my mind. Right off the bat, I would just say Smith D'Souza. I think some of you may be familiar with him, and some of our listeners out there. He worked with Career Services. He then got an internship through Career Services with an employer. He was able to get full-time employment with them after graduation. So he really stuck to the process. He followed the guidance that was prescribed by Career Services, and it really helped with his job search. And it's really what's kept him motivated. And I think that for your listeners to hear from an international student who was in their shoes, who went through all the same things and, achieved career success, it would be inspirational and motivational for them.
I agree. Thank you for the wonderful suggestions.
So with that, we come to the end of our podcast. So I would love to hear your last thoughts on how you enjoy the podcast. What sections of the podcast did you enjoy the most? Any last note?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. And again, I appreciate you all taking the time to speak with me and inviting me to be a guest. I would say I really enjoyed as much as I enjoy a good meme, I enjoyed, sharing at the beginning, just insights on what students can do to support their job search, because that really is my forte. And I really believe in the transformative power of career services education and what a difference it can make in our job seekers' lives.
So thank you so very much, Mahindra, for doing this for the two of us. And I'm sure there were a lot of takeaways. I'm sure the audience who are viewing this will also have a lot of takeaways. So thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. And again, thank you all so much for inviting me to be a guest. And again, I commend you on the great work that you're doing.
We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what sections you enjoyed the most and what questions you have for our next guest. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment for the podcast. Your support means a lot to the two of us. Signing off, Rohan Niranjan Kalpavruksha.